All right, all. Hello, everybody. We are live. This is FMA discussion number 86, part 2 with Baste and Sixto Carlos. For those who are watching and will be watching, please tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to hit like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, FMA discussion. So, hey, guys, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on again.
Hi, everything's fine here with the pandemic and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to stay warm here in Minnesota.
God, what is the temp out there? I'm even afraid to ask.
30s, 40s, 30s.
Oh, that's not bad. You just
well,
wait a month or so.
Not for this, Filipino Californian guy.
So I mean, wait a month with those wind chills and all that good stuff. Oh man! So those who are watching, last time, those who that didn't catch part 1, I highly recommend that you do it. It's on FMA discussion episode 85. If you haven't watched it already, I highly recommend you do. So where we left off on last episode was basically each of these guys' journey, and basically started from Lameco, and then kind of we left off with the Compo, if I'm correct in that. Correct?
Yes.
And then obviously definitely spots in between the PTK and obviously heavy stop and time spent in KI. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to take off and bridge it with their system that they formed. So Carlos Hermanos. So when and why? When did this come about, and what was the reasoning or the incentive?
Okay. First of all, so we were trained in a lot of systems. We thought it would be unfair if we just said, "Hey, we are just Lameco, we're just KI, we're just Pikiti," because when we train, we inject some stuff. We think that would work in sparring, because what we do is, let's say we learn the Compo stuff. We try to inject it in sparring. Would it work under pressure?
Mm.
Would it not? So sometimes, let's say we focus on KI. Anyway, that's our main focus. We train on KI. We feel that some of the fighters, if we add this technique, it will help them greatly in their sparring. So we already had to call it something else. And we actually didn't want to start a new system. Am I right, Baste? We didn't want to start a new system. That was far from our mind. Carlos Hermanos was more of a club, and eventually we developed our own methodology of training. Baste?
Yeah. So, yeah, to add, basically we trained formally with the masters, but amongst ourselves, we took advantage too of having it scheduled. Like my brother and I said, okay, let's do this. I know you're getting busy with school. I'm busy with he was busy with his master's degree. Let's set up every third weekend of the month and full spar.
Yeah, beat up each other.
And it evolved from there, where we're like, oh, this worked, that worked. What's your favorite move now? This and that. So basically, it kind of became the foundation of who we were. That we were more of a sparring based club. That that try to how do you say either make sense or of what we learned, because people train in the arts and always wonder, is this applicable or not? And for us, we're the nearest you could ever get to a real fight is sparring, except for fighting itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it came from that. And also part of the development was when we were being trained by Grand Tuhon Leogahe back then, he actually told us, eventually that, Sixto and Basti, you guys are brothers, take advantage of this situation. For you guys is to treat your time together. You live together. We were roommates, trained, downstairs. We went to the same masters. treat yourselves as a learning laboratory and eventually come up with your own PTK subsystem.
Okay.
So that's where it kind of like started. But then eventually we were doing the same thing with all the other arts we were learning. So in the end, we were thinking like, would it be fair to like call it PTK CH? And then, we just did something that we learned from the Compo or something we learned from KI. Then eventually also, would it be fair to us too? Because eventually we also came up with our own way of doing things aside from the teaching methodology to the actual techniques for and tactics. So eventually, like we thought, like I think similar to again, my idol was Edgar Sulite. He had the
Yeah.
same dilemma back then. He said that this master wanted me to take over this, but this master wanted me to promote this, but now that I've had so many masters, I can't. I have to like please everyone. I came up with Lameco. So in our case, like this is some people say this is my JKD when they come up with their own
Yeah. You ever heard that?
or
Oh
their
yeah.
own view of a certain martial art. In our case, this is our Lameco of sorts.
Yeah.
If you want to think
Yeah.
of it that
That was
way.
a that was a good
But if you were
analogy. The JKD.
to think about the actual foundation, our foundation is sparring, and everything comes from there.
Yeah.
Because like being busy, one thing where we've also evolved and also connected to how we came up with the logo. See two, it's a Philippine eagle with two heads, and of course those two heads represent first the two brothers who were the co-founders. What's been happening is like I we were together for a long time. That's the whole body, the whole foundation. It keeps on growing.
Okay.
You have the feathers. That's all the members and all the experiences that we all put together.
Okay.
But essentially, with the two heads, I've moved on to go to the US. He's stayed on to be in the Philippines. Travel. My brother spent a lot of time teaching LEOs and military and special ops in the Philippines, as well as people flying in from other countries. And I've spent a lot of course, I live here in the US and I'm exposed more to what's going on in the US. So every year, aside from, of course, our regular video conferencing while we're not together, but every year, except for the pandemic year, of course, when back in the Philippines is where we recalibrate and we share and we kind of like rethink like, hey, does this approach still work? Should we add this? Should we delete this? Should we modify this? Because what we're trying to actually do for the Carlos Hermanos, how do you say, fighting system, make it efficient, for modern times. Not one has the time or the discipline or the mentality to learn a traditional martial art. Because people are thinking like, oh, okay, there's 2 hours traffic to get there versus like maybe during our grandfather's time where you walk to the knock at their door next. Who knows? Or I've heard stories about people climbing mountains, and like we talked about June Pueblo swimming through. But what I'm saying is like, based on the modern environment, where also people are more likely to take jobs geographically to be far away from each other. Address that. How do you make it more efficient with like people having different job schedules, people working in hospitality, people being managers, people, my brother vet being on call all the time. So how do you address that? We have to make it efficient. What's the most efficient way of teaching? What's the most efficient way of learning? What are the most likely kinds of events that you might encounter that you might need to address when you're fighting? Also, what's the most effective way of conditioning, and so on and so forth. So that's how kind of how we devised Carlos Hermanos to be, and our outlet is sparring. So the way I analyze it is like, though it's non-traditional in the sense that there's a lot of traditional schools that currently, which is kind of interesting, that don't spar. They do drills all the time, or they do forms and all that, and that's their thing, and that's good. If that's their focus, and they're happy with that, that's fine. For us, the focus is sparring as well as pressure testing techniques, to make sure that the attributes that we've developed eventually get reflected on what we do whenever we encounter pressure or uncertainty.
Yeah, I liked a lot of what both you said. I think it's really neat. Like it'd be, yeah, based on the systems that you guys done, it would have been really hard for you guys just to pick one name, kind of leave everybody else out, and then you deal with some political fallouts because you didn't include that. I mean, I've seen that happen. So I think it's really neat that you just get a generic name. In your case, you guys' last name and the brothers. I think that's really neat. And all that, and you kind of avoid all that where you're not leaving anybody out or making somebody feel bad or what have you. And I definitely love the science, the science lab approach. You know what I mean? Like and I've touched on this before, and it kind of ties into like the student and all that. And I think what happens a lot is the student gets lost in translation. Like our smartest gift, our attribute up here in our mind. And it's like you were saying, it's like, why can't like more like you guys, when I do it, like figure out stuff, like, test it, try to improve on it, try to add something to it, delete something, like you said. And so many don't do that. They just they're in that like robotic, and I'm not saying it's bad, depending on where you want your journey to go or what's important to you, art versus functionality, which is a whole nother entity. But I really enjoy that. Like, test things out, improve on them. I mean, just because they were given to you doesn't mean that you can't make it better or streamline it or make it where it works better for you based on body type or physique or what have you. So I thought that was well said on both of your parts. And the logo, I mean, that's really neat. Like that I didn't realize the feathers represent your like your students and all that. That's kind of neat. So all right, when did I understand how it came about? You're in Guy Hay, and Guy Hay's kind of planting the seed. Hey, one day, you guys, you might want to create your own thing, this and that and all that. Do you know about when you kind of created your own system per se?
Truth to tell, it was more of organic. I mentioned earlier, we didn't really plan it. It just happened. Then again, people were asking us. Then Baste was leaving for the States, 2001. Baste, you left for the States 2001, right?
Yep.
And I don't know, we had to call it something. I don't know.
Also around then? Okay. Oh, so you guys have been 18 years then.
Because we didn't really have a name for it. So we didn't really have any plans for world domination or really
No.
Yeah.
Like you're the new, like reinventing the wheel, or I get it. Yeah. So
because FMA for us, or martial arts in general, it's a personal thing. We just wanted to train. We just wanted to. Anything that's happening now, people want to train with us. It's more of an effect. It's more of an effect.
So, so 18 years?
Also, sorry.
Yeah, about.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Baste.
No, saying also as what my brother said, it happened organically also in the sense that I remember before I left for the US, Professor Olavides also was trying to gear up for his upcoming launch to the US in a small way. He's a very private guy who wanted to be slowly and surely and so on. And he was like, "Oh, Basti, you're going to the US. Yeah, that's good. I'm old. I just want to sit down. I want to point things, and you'll do the demos." But the thing was, so that was good because he was mentoring us to join in the organization and help it grow, and also especially with this upcoming US tour. But apparently, my brother was busy with his with his studies, and also eventually like helping out with the practice, his veterinary practice. In my case, I went to the US to pursue my master's degree, and I was all the way in the East Coast. Master Professor Olavides was stuck in LA.
Yeah.
I didn't have both the time and the money that living off student loans. I didn't even have money to pay for a bus ticket to go,
Yeah.
or so of plane ticket. So it was also out of necessity that we couldn't eventually, like, having different obligations, we couldn't anymore, unlike when we were younger, like putting as much time to help other people. So at least when it's our own organization, we can work on it at our own pace. That's how it came about.
Okay. No, I think it's interesting. Yeah. So, I know obviously you're pulling for different stuff and all that, but let's just for the viewers that are watching who might, get interested out of this based on what you guys are, what you want to share with us. For the let's I think to make it easier, let's just go by weapon. I'm thinking that might be the easiest way to go. As far as stick, where the majority are you pulling your curriculum from? Give me general. I mean, just.
I guess with the stick, it's more a lot of KI, a lot of PTK with some of the training methodologies of the Compo.
Okay. Interesting. Knife.
Currently or before? Because
How about both?
I'm also,
Both.
okay. Basta with knife, no? Actually, it's more of KI, PTK, and recently more of the combatives groups like Libre, Piper, some of Lee Morrison's Blade.com, some of the more combative stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's it.
Obviously, sword, KI.
Yes, with the sword, KI. Long weapons is mostly Dos Manos. That's mostly KI.
Yeah.
Okay, can I tell you a story about Dos Manos?
Sure.
Dos Manos is more or less a subsystem of KI. It's not really taught to everybody. So if Mang Tony taught you Dos Manos, he probably likes you.
Okay.
That was Baste's focus during the 90s. Am I right? Baste loved
Yeah.
long weapons. It was him who focused on that. Me personally, I like two sticks or two blades. That was my favorite. Baste focused on that. So he got quite good at it. That's why if you ask a lot of KI guys, not everybody actually knows Dos Manos. For your information. Again, when we refocused again on KI, Coach Arnold reviewed us and taught us some of the details that we're using now. But again, Dos Manos, mostly long weapons, is from KI.
Yeah. I've seen some of it. It looks great. I mean, yeah. Anything?
And I think what's important to
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
what's important to probably point out is also we're trying to avoid to come up with a chop suey kind of approach.
Yeah.
Blend, where 5 minutes into the training we're saying like, oh, let's do a little bit of Australias, or 10 minutes into the training we're gonna say like, let's do some triple V or whatever, or let's do some decampo footwork. We don't that way. Out of respect, especially for right now for KI, we'd like to keep it pure.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody asks me to teach them KI, I follow the Kiro way of teaching it. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with like, well, I always refer to like when people are teaching piano, like you could learn jazz or any other free flow method you'd like that's modern, but at the end of the day, when people want to learn basic foundation and how to strengthen the fingers, they learn their hands.
Yeah.
A manual that's been written hundreds of years ago. So when when people approach us like teach us KI, we teach them KI. We don't say this is Carlos Hermanos. It's
No. I get it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Likewise with everything else. So that's why we also like how would I explain this? We have like kind of like the Carlos Hermanos system.
Mm,
Like under our umbrella, we have like a KICH, which is eventually like what we mean is we it follows the same Kiro curriculum that when people eventually like want to be certified in KI or whatever, they could go to Arnold or whoever. They'll be actually be able to follow the same.
yeah, right. If they were in California or whatever, Minnesota, and they have to see you, and they went over there, it wouldn't be like two distinct worlds they were getting. Yeah, I get you. I get you. We got some questions from on here, so let me I just want to make sure I'm not missing any of them because people have been posting them as we've been going in. We got a bunch of people saying, Alvin, Romeo, hey, Andres, Ramon, Jesse, Lance, Brian, Master Arnold, Richard Packman, Serenas, okay, Sacramento, okay. And Paul says I'm. So, all right, let me just go back up because I know there's some questions here and I just don't want to miss. Okay, Romeo, I'm gonna get this question at the end, what they're doing, far as where they're located and all that. Okay, we can touch into this now. Sparring. What kind of safety equipment do you use when sparring? And in your opinions on training sticks, padded versus unpadded? So 2 questions.
Okay, Baste, I'll answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my belief is it's now the 21st century. Get as much equipment as you can. There's no point in killing each other.
Or getting injured and you can't train.
Exactly, I agree. There,
That's
there's
fine.
a time. There's a time for that. For example, if you're a beginner, we use foam sticks. We use foam sticks, but later on, we do recommend sparring, just a headgear, hockey gloves, then anything goes. Again, it's up to the student if he wants to reach that level. We won't force you. Because again, not everybody wants to do that. It's like BJJ. Some just want to do flow grappling.
Sure.
Some just want BJJ. Some eventually want to go to mixed martial arts. So again, it's up to you.
Okay.
Regarding again padded sticks and live sticks, do both. Each has its own focus. Each has its own merits.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Yeah, that's what I say. Good. Yeah. Basta, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with my brother. It's variety is key. You have to learn both, especially if you're thinking of taking up martial arts for learning to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Then you know how to use different materials to know how it feels. Stick bounces differently from a foam or a padded stick, but at the same time, you can't be bashing each other every single day with a
Yeah.
stick.
Not
They
if you
used
want to
to.
keep students.
Yeah.
And
So I agree with
injury.
that. And there's some stuff that you also can't drill with
Yeah.
easily drill with a live stick easily if you lack certain other equipment. So it depends on what's available to you. But at the end of the day, the absolute least is just headgear, live stick, and hockey gloves. And I would
Yeah.
stick to that. Probably some knee pads to cover the knee. Sometimes yes, sometimes
Yeah,
not.
right. If you guys are including leg shots. Yeah. Right on. Your open forum idea. Thanks, Romeo. Me and train. Okay, so this is from Alvin. With the inability to meet train in person as freely as before the pandemic, how are you training with students to fill the void without sparring? Good. Yeah, everybody's going through this. So,
Oh, okay. Uh, Personally, even before the pandemic, my belief, I mentioned this is the 21st century already. And I think, Dean, you do a lot of this. Personally, I believe online training has its merits.
mm,
While it's not the best. In-person training is still optimal. I believe that online training does help a lot. If you can't spar, well, you can train the basics and train a lot of attributes. Then when you get to meet, you can spar.
yeah,
That's my take on it.
yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a great supplemental tool, online training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It should never replace the ability for you to meet with the instructor and all that, but as a supplemental guide and tool. And I tell you one thing, when the pandemic goes, the online training is not going away. You know what I mean? This is here to stay. People that, did well with all that, it's not going anywhere. So folks that think like, no. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any questions. Alrighty. Oh, this is a good one. Alvin, good questions. What are the training methodologies of the Compo?
Very, very specific, huh? Baste?
I guess to address this question is to describe it as it was taught to us, the way we saw it, and the way it was specifically taught to us. It's not a flow drill based system based on how it was shown to us. It's basically um, a one feeder and one trainee kind of environment where the feeder feeds an attack and the trainee reacts. Uh, I would say it's also similar uh, to how I would say like old school KI also used to be, where it's a feeder and a performer kind of environment versus two guys doing flow drills. The hubud lubud kind of environment.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically not there. I'm not sure if he's aware too of how different the Campo is, but in the Campo, there's no live hand.
Yeah, right,
So
right,
it's
right.
all stick counters.
Mm,
Definitely, there's no hubud drills in
yeah.
that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, by no means I don't have the depth that you guys trained in there. But from from the compo under David Gold through the Mako lens, the attribute development to me is incredible. I mean,
Yes.
speed, accuracy, power, position, reposition. I mean, like I thought it was like just great stuff, and not getting him into the recovery and all that. Yeah. So what I've seen it thus far, I think it's fantastic. All righty. That was a good question, Alvin. Okay. And we have, okay, I think I got one left, and I think we can move on. Okay. Question from Dax. In sparring, do you prefer to do sticks or knife only? Part two. Or do you mix it up with grappling and striking?
Okay. Uh, Again, do both. In the beginning, I guess you have to isolate the attributes. You should do stick sparring, hand sparring first.
Hmm.
Then I think he mentioned knife, right? Then knife sparring. Then later,
Right. Yep.
later you should add some stand-up grappling, some clinches. Then eventually anything goes.
Yeah.
But again, you have to isolate. It's not your first session. Hey guys,
We're gonna go.
everything goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't be again, retention of students might not
Yes.
be the best thing to do. Just saying. It might not. But yeah, like I like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like start with hand hunting. Get used to tracking the hand moving like a fly, and then hand head, hand leg, whatever, and then
Yeah.
I mean, stick with clinch is paramount, man. When you crashing, I mean, if you don't have stick clinch, man. Oh, I think that's great. Good. Another good question. All right. Okay. I think I got all caught up on the questions. Okay, good. Okay. So back to your system. Like, what do you try? As far as your students, whether you're seeing them in person. Well, actually, we probably should make this two-part with the pandemic. I'm thinking. So pre-pandemic, when you were actually able to see your students and they're in front of you and all that, what are like the main things you like to instill in them? And then part two, with the pandemic, obviously not having the contact with them, what are you trying to sell them now via online?
Okay. I'll start first. So when my students are in person, I focus a lot on power, accuracy, then your reaction against an opponent.
Okay.
Online, when we've been teaching online recently, it's more of technical biomechanics, positioning.
There's nothing wrong with that though. That's good stuff still. You know, I mean, yeah. How about you, Baste? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's a different experience for me, just because uh, my teaching or learning group tends to be a lot smaller. So, for example, in Atlanta, I only had like 3 students that I wanted to focus on for a whole year, and they remember this for the whole year. They only focused on 10 movements because I wanted to make sure that they get the right biomechanics. And they wanted to focus on KI, so I grilled them like, hey, as long as you get these basic footwork movements, go to Arnold when you go to the Philippines during the holidays or whatever. It will be easy to pick up what he's doing. So
Okay.
I'm like strict on, move your toes a little bit, angle it in, angle it out, put your feet together, and I keep on grilling them on that. And you don't easily find students who like that because they get bored. But
Yeah.
if you know the end result, that after banking hours of doing this, and you're telling me that after I master these basic movements, that it's gonna be easy for me to pick up stuff later, then great. Likewise, online, uh, for online, I've started most of my online teaching as one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing where I zoom in and look at. I'm like, hey, show me your feet.
Yeah.
Okay, move sideways. Okay, adjust that a little bit. Move an inch. Okay, I think that makes sense. So I really am a stickler for biomechanics, um, especially for beginners, because eventually you'll be able to uh, speed and power will follow with a proper biomechanics, especially for beginners, especially for those who've never done any martial arts before. Um, then you could be able to like focus on the other aspects, especially when people want to get the real, how do you say, KI movement or KI kind of brand of movement. Then I'm like, okay, well, you gotta spend more time on these kind of basics. Same thing for the Compo. Like I started teaching the Compo to one of my students in San Francisco, and it's the same thing. I'm like, I'm teaching you how the strikes actually felt when I felt it from my instructor. So to be
Yeah.
for you to do that, we have to bank hours on very specific basics and repetition.
Yeah. Good stuff. We got another question in from Brian. How much do you emphasize empty hand striking training in your system?
Okay. Let me answer that. Okay. Personally, me, I focus more on weapons fighting. My belief in Filipino martial arts is learning martial arts. It's like going to uni, or high school. You have a different teacher for physics. You have a different teacher for biology. You have a different teacher for economics. Personally, I don't want to teach much hand to hand. Although, if asked, I show some combative moves. I would recommend my students to take up a boxing class, Muay Thai class, or a BJJ class. I remember when we asked the late Mang Tony Diego, "Hey, Mang Tony, I'd like to learn the hand-to-hand aspect of Filipino martial arts." You know what his answer was?
What's that?
Sixto, take up boxing.
You
That
can't
that
argue
was
that,
what
man. I mean, Western boxing, best hands. I mean,
it's the best. For me, it's the best. So that
I,
so so personally, that's my take on it. I my mas- mastery or my specialization is weapons, and if I can't teach that level of skill to my students, I'd rather they learn it from somebody else. I would recommend
yeah,
to go to a club.
that's commendable. Yeah, you're referring them to somebody else. I mean, that's yeah. You know, anything you want to add, Baste?
Yeah, and then for me personally, for most of the time that I do empty hands in a class, it's more of me needing to find a training partner, to be honest. Where
Mm,
I'm glad my student
Yeah.
wants to practice the kicks, I get to practice the kicks too.
yeah, yeah. Win-win.
Versus me pretending like, okay, I'm gonna come up with a CH subsystem now on CPA or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, focus is the key. Again, we'd like to be more focus oriented, given the more modern approach of being a specialist in that.
Mm. Yeah, I like your answer. I mean, right. I mean, just Western boxing has proved its validity for how many decades now?
Oh yes, over a century.
I don't know. People just don't. It's like, I mean, I don't know. But all right. So you guys talked about a little. This is something I like to bring up to people because to me it's very, very important. If you, and again, there's kind of a subject here, if I may, and it's the functionalization versus art. And again, I just want so nobody gets people don't misconstrue me, is that if you like the art and that's your journey, I think that's great. You know what I mean? If it makes you happy, gets you off the couch, I think that's fantastic. However, like I like contact. I like being held accountable. I like being pressured. I like, stress inoculation. I mean, but that's not everybody's gig. I get it. But for sparring though, and my question to you is, like for sparring, I think if you proclaim to be a functionalist, in my opinion, you have to engage in sparring or instill that in your students. Where am I wrong, or what do you guys think?
No, we agree absolutely. We've lost students because they don't want to spar. Again, for me, it's their thing. If they want flow, the art, sure, no problem, no problem. But again, if you want to stay with us, we do emphasize sparring. We do
Yeah.
emphasize contact because my all of our instructors have done that to us. I think we were talking about tatang when you feed tatang and he would hit you in the hand and the head. I, um, it may sound funny, but that was a good learning experience. At least you have an idea
Mm.
that hurts. That would work. You won't be questioning the technique.
Yeah, if he's landing on you, yeah, I mean, right when you're getting hit, I mean, I don't know. That's when you really learn the most, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think
pain,
so. It's good feedback, right?
pain is a good teacher.
You
Yeah,
know?
and also they like I remember reading who's that guy that was named the most dangerous Ken Shamrock.
Okay, Shamrock. That's an old name.
Relatively new. Then he had a book. I forgot what it was called, but I read it. Then he had this terminology called like callousing the body.
Hmm.
Just by rolling and sparring all the time, your body toughens,
Yeah,
and then that prepares you for the inevitable,
getting hit.
in their case, the cage.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like that's the similarities we have with like our approach. You'd rather know how a stick stings while you're training rather than
Mm.
how it
Yeah.
feels.
To me,
naturality. So.
I totally agree, guy. And to me, the biggest thing, like I brought up in a couple interviews before, through similar subject matters, to me, the big thing is stress inoculation. Like, if you can't deal with the stress in sparring, like, how are you going to negotiate the stress or prepare for it when something really happens? Like,
That's
you know what I mean? Like, everybody talks about the physicality of stuff,
Mm.
know that. But up here, if this breaks down, I don't care what you got for physical techniques. If this is out to lunch or goes out the window because of the stress.
And one thing I've noticed too, Dean, just browsing through the internet, on forums and such, is there's I would say, like a shift in culture with some FMAers that I would say is a similar shift to how some kung fu schools and karate and taekwondo schools eventually evolved to, where it's all forms, no contact, or if there's contact, it's like padding, it's like as thick as like pillows and whatever, which is fine if that's their thing. But what I find is like some actually find people who spar or ask people to spar to be a little bit more, how would I say, either thuggish or something, where I'm trying to be like this badass, I love to spar. To me, not really how we think of it. To us, it's a tool.
It's
Absolutely.
learning.
Yeah.
That's at the same time, having a focus on the school. When you choose a school, right? Even if you're choosing a school for your kid, for example, I want my kid to be an engineer. You look for a high school that's very technical oriented,
Sure.
or I want my kid to go to MIT or whatever. So you find like a good high school that has a good robotics team or something. And that's where the focus eventually goes. From our case, like we like to focus on sparring, then everything else, the training methods, the culture, and everything else follows, right? The conditioning methods and all that follows that premise. At the same time, when you go to a boxing gym, uh, for most boxers, pro boxers, amateur boxers, the end result is like being in the ring,
Yeah.
which is great. And then you have the quote unquote boxing gyms where it's a fitness center.
Cardio, more
You're allowed to
cardio.
spar. So to each their own, and that's fine with us. But one should not look, bad or badly at another's
Yeah. To me,
way of doing things.
I agree. To me, it's based on the person's journey, what they want to get out of it. What really bothers me is, just far as I guess, from an ethical outlook, is if there's teachers out there that are saying that their stuff is functional, this will work in real life,
Oh,
particularly on the knife end, and they haven't
yeah.
fully tested it out. That's where my eyebrows raise. But if you like the forms and the drills and you like hitting the sticks and and all that, hey, each to their own, yeah.
Yeah, Dina. I had this discussion with Coach Arnold regarding KI, regarding Tatang Illustrissima. A lot of people keep on saying, Tatang did this, Tatang did that. I told Arnold, and Arnold agreed. I said, enough of Tatang. He's been dead since the 90s.
97,
Right?
right?
Yeah, he's been dead since the 90s. Come on, let's train. For the KI guys out there, come on, let's train. Let's show it works. That's it. Enough of the talk that I slept in Tatang's house for 6 months, blah, 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 blah. My question is, can you make it work? Did you practice enough?
And,
So,
and you're carrying his name with your club. So if ever something be able to execute, and I think he'd
right?
feel more honored if somebody was able to use his techniques versus
Yeah.
Versus just
his mementos.
versus just the pictures, versus just
Oh yeah, posting it. Yeah, I got you. No, I got you. Yeah. I know. I guess people trying to ride the coattails of. Yeah, I guess.
that's true.
Got another question. What is the biomechanics as it relates to FMA?
Okay, should I start with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. With biomechanics, I think I mentioned earlier, again, during the last interview, that the masters were very particular and very good with biomechanics. It's the way you position your hand. It's the way you swing your stick. For example, the proper way to use a stick is to extend it. A lot of guys, what they do when they swing this way. The hand is exposed, so you get hit easily. It should be extended. Some basics. For example, in KI, there's a big emphasis on blade awareness, the way you grab your weapon. So if you're used to using a blade, that transfers well to using a stick. So you don't hit a stick this way or that way.
Proper
So you
wrist
have a
alignment.
blade, proper alignment. So there's a lot of that. When you block, let's say an Estrella, would it be strong enough to actually block on a person's strike? But actually, there's a secret there. You hit the head first before you block. So those kinds of things, proper position. When you do a parry, is it just slapping this way, or you actually push forward? Certain details that the masters would teach you properly. And sad to say, a lot of people, they're not so particular with that. For me, if you want to understand the specific system, you should understand the specific biomechanics. Why swing that way? Why do the side step that way? Why counter that way? Why in Punta Idaga, why do you position your hand this way and not this way if your hand's here? There are specific reasons for that. Was there anything to add to that?
Yeah, and as I've alluded in the last episode, again, like even the biomechanics is a reflection of, again, the master's body type, the master's environment. Uh, Again, like some from, if you're talking about traditional arts, if you've noticed, some masters would crouch lower or higher depending on, do they have soft ground, do they have muddy ground, they simulating a fight in a rice paddy, are they simulating a fight based on, like, they're in the mountain region or the plains, all that kind of stuff. So be wary about that. You have to, when you're learning an art, the way, a traditional art especially, the way to appreciate it is to analyze why, maybe why. And I hope people also won't abuse it to make stories about, oh, it's like this because that, and it's a marketing thing where probably the master learned this under waterfall or whatever. But what I'm just saying is, like, appreciate probably, like, why does this master look different from that master, and figure things out. Probably ask your instructor too. Why are we crouching lower than those guys? Maybe he may know the answer or not. Why this hand going here? Why the hand there? Some people say they prefer this versus that. So these are kind of questions you should be asking your instructor to learn, especially during breaks. That's the best time to ask questions, not to be.
Sure.
Yeah, during breaks.
We got all right, we got one from Lance. What is there's I like this one because it's really relevant. What is your opinion on a lot of the knife defense and FMA we see today? Man, this is like my favorite subject matter. I have to be honest.
You want an honest answer or political answer?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll chime in because since I'm the host, I don't care what people say or think of me. So you guys can take whatever route you want to go.
Baste, should you go first or should I go first?
You go first.
Yeah. It's already starting.
Okay. To be frank, till now, I still have a dilemma with knives. That's why I still keep on researching. I've told you I went to Libre, Piper. AMOC. I'm intrigued with AMOC. I like to study what the combatives guys do. Janich, um, Hockheim, Lee Morrison. Because the thing is, my problem in Filipino martial arts, a lot of the practitioners, they just want to justify what their instructor taught them. That is my problem with FMA.
Good point.
Unlike the combatives guys, they're more, they have this, they're open-minded, and they test it, pressure test it. That's why until now I'm still researching. I really can't answer which is the best. Maybe in the future I will realize, oh, the traditional method is better. As of now, I'm leaning towards to the guys who actually pressure test the techniques. And when I say pressure testing, it's not like, hey, stand there. What would you do? Not that kind of pressure testing.
I know what you mean.
What I meant is put armor, then somebody really who will really stab you. Then
really
we have
coming
to
at
test.
you to try to kill you with a sewing
Yes.
machine or an overhead, and they're
Yes.
jumping
Full
center
power.
at you.
Full power. Not the way, okay, I stop here.
No.
So I want somebody who's going to wear a headgear, and I try to put a hole on your headgear.
Yeah.
And another thing is look at CCTVs. What really happens in real fights? Libre does a lot of that. They check a lot of CCTVs and they check what really happens, what has been applied in real fights. We have videos now. We didn't have that benefit years ago. Now we have videos of what really happened in fights, so we can review and check.
Yeah, it's a great tool. Absolutely. Baste.
Yeah.
What say you?
Yeah, speaking of CCTVs, that's one thing that I've kind of like utilized lately too, and I also got intrigued on the question, how or why some of the traditional knife defense techniques came about. And I was wondering, like, okay, it's been taught for this long, and in the Philippine trade culture, people see people getting stabbed at least, on
Daily.
TV.
Daily. People get
or
stabbed.
in person, especially, or at least see some newspapers on a body at least once in their lifetime while they're crossing the street. So I've lately like watched Filipino CCTVs, and I've seen like, okay, for some FMA techniques, I see like, okay, so maybe that's why this kind of, not talking about a specific art, but I'm just thinking like maybe this particular art, I'm looking at somebody getting stabbed at a particular region. Thinking like, okay, so maybe that's what this grandmaster was always seeing, this kind of stabbing, this kind of attitude, different from probably a, San Quentin prison kind of sewing machine kind of person with 19-inch arms who uses the prison gym all the time versus a Filipino guy who, built Filipino mentality, maybe someone who just wants to stab versus to grab. And I've seen that, so I'm like, maybe it works in this kind of environment. So I don't necessarily discount it. It's part of my toolbox. Similar to our answer with padded or stick, you got to try both and see what works for you based on your situation. The only important thing is similar to what I've learned in an investments book. Don't fall in love with your assets. Similar with martial arts, don't fall in love with your assets. If
I like that.
this is what's been taught to me before I trained 5 years. Okay, well, you trained to do the cha-cha for 5 years, but you're entering a salsa contest or a boogie contest. Doesn't apply. So don't fall in love. If you're in the US now, and we're both in the US, and I see someone doing a Connecticut, I don't know, a jigsaw or something, then at least I'm aware, and I know what to do. Run.
Yeah, I know. I think you guys are saying some great stuff. To me, when I look at everything on social media, or whatever. The biggest thing that stands out in the weapon category is knife, and what people think they're going to do empty hand against it. And you just know right off the top that they have not put helmets on, because if they did, they would find like the failures. You know what I mean? And I think some people, like you mentioned, they keep teaching because it was what's handed down to them, and then they're going to take a serious look at themselves and their students, and there has to be a circle of truth. And if they're not willing to do that, nothing's going to change as far as like changing to like, you know, what works or reality, what's been pressure tested and all that. And that's the biggest what I see on here. You know, it's just, yeah.
Although caveat din though would be for exactly how would I say the circus knife disarms that
Mm.
people tend to sell. And there's a motto for martial arts instructors that I hear often is to make money, you got to sell what people want, not
Oh yeah,
necessarily.
no, that's such a good point. Like, because you just nailed it. Because I've been part of, I'm not gonna say the systems just for political, but if you look at my buy, you know, people that know me, they know what I'm talking about. That there's just no, like, this stuff broke down, like those things sped up, and the real intent was there. It just like these defenses just broke down. You know, I mean, it just, you know what I mean? It just didn't hold up. You know, but you still see this stuff today, like being taught. And if you look at the feeds, it's,
Yeah.
and of course,
Oh
they're
yeah.
doing their things, they're clearing the hand, they're going their thing and all that, because it's, if you look at the feeds, of course it's working. But man, when that thing is out and on, if you even get the luxury of seeing the first attack come at you, I don't know, man. Two hands work better than one. That's what I found. You know.
Yeah.
You know. We're gonna. Oh, what is? Oh my gosh. Lucky, are you serious? What is the difference between PTK and KI?
A lot. Uh, I, 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 I don't think this is the place to discuss it. It's
I wouldn't touch it.
a lot. There's a lot. There's
Well,
a lot.
my,
All right,
my
Lucky.
answer would be there's Google and YouTube. Probably
Yeah, a lot.
PTK and Calles Illustrissimo,
Yeah,
and
Lucky. We're gonna have
what
to
you see first.
just
Yeah.
tell you
Uh,
generic answer. A lot.
a lot.
Just. Yeah. Oof. All right. How do okay, so we got into students. We talked about the importance of sparring. Okay, let's go on this. This is pretty because you guys are all kind of doing some different things. Current pursuits. So, what are you guys doing? What are you currently trying to work on or add or whatever? Add to your arsenal or repertoire or whatever.
Okay. I think I've already mentioned that I'm also a Libre guy. The reason I went to Libre is when I first saw the videos online, they were using a range which I don't normally find in Filipino martial arts. They what really attracted to me was the wall work. You push somebody against the wall, then stab. So
It's like, man.
so that's what initially attracted me. So again, that's with Libre. I'm heavily into that, and they also focus on shorter knives. A lot of the FMA techniques actually use longer knives. When I was training with Mang Tony, the late Mang Tony Diego, he told me that the Filipino knives are actually long. The Visayan knives are from your elbow
It's like
to the
a
tip of your
it's like
finger.
a miniature sword.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of the punta idaga techniques won't work with short knives. It has to be a long knife. Again, I've had some exposure with Piper. Uh, again with Lee's Blade Com, and in the future, I'd like to go into AMOC when things are better.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it. Yeah, because you're open minded. I think you would enjoy it. You know, just you know,
Another thing I'm pursuing right now is hawk
tomahawk.
fighting. Because my problem with a lot of the FMA guys, okay, I'll just say it. A lot of the FMA guys, when they use the hawk, they use trainers. They don't use a real hawk, a real axe. They perform a lot of techniques, abanico,
Mm.
the blade is it's balanced, or they use machete techniques. That will not work on axes because the axe, by its very nature, is top heavy. I've I've been using a lot of Lee Morrison's material on axe, and I've been collaborating with the guy from Ronin FME, Marco. Oh my God, I forgot his last name. Basta you say his name. He's Croatian. Okay,
Okay.
We met him last year in Croatia, and we've been exchanging concepts, ideas with the axe. He's got very good concepts. Like the axe is more of it's a sniper's tool. It's not like a stick where you can hit several times. It's you have to be very precise. If you miss your opponent, he has a weapon, more or less. That's it. You have to be very so. It has a different. It has different attributes, different concepts. The problem with a lot of FMA guys is they force FMA techniques on the hawk.
Okay.
It's a it's a different weapon. It's a different monster. So we're doing a lot of research on that right now. So that's one of my pursuits right now.
No, I think that's neat. Yeah, I've always been intrigued by it because you have like an edge, you have like where, and then you have the blunt weapon translation. Obviously, it just seems you have a hooking mechanism. I mean, it just seems pretty neat to play around with. Yeah.
And the way to hold it, you can punch this way.
Yeah.
It's a different animal. It's a different animal.
Yeah. How about you, Baste? What are you doing?
Yeah, so currently I've been tasked to I have it on my milestones to hopefully get some of my projects done for this year. We have a printing of the Kiro Calis Illustrisimo Dos Manos manual.
Okay.
So we're reprinting those and sending, and yeah, I'll of course find one to send you, one for you, Dean, as well, of course.
I would definitely, if you ever do anything online with that, I would definitely be interested in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, we also have some other manuals on the works for online training. Especially after the pandemic started, I started teaching one-on-one. I got students as far as Australia. Yeah, learning those manos actually. What I'm trying to figure out right now is how to structure it on a class kind of environment.
Yeah, because you got like the thing. Yeah, I'm just trying to think right because of the length and all that. That'd be neat though. Yeah, let me know if you ever do that. Like I would definitely like. I definitely need like that's an area I haven't gotten like a lot of information on. To be honest, yeah.
Okay, and again, I got tons of stories about that, and we'll leave it for another day.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it sounds good
As
to me.
regards to my Dos Manos experience.
Yeah, it's good current stuff though. For
Yeah,
sure.
that's one. As regards to practicing martial arts, I'm into JKD IFO, so Tommy Carruthers lineage.
Oh yeah, that's a major name. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to learn more of that and trying to catch up with my brother with the Libre and urban computing. Well, as soon as the pandemic ends, hopefully, from a traditional standpoint, I always go back home to the Philippines every year to
Okay.
do intensives with Coach Arnold. So
Several hours a day for weeks. Yeah.
yeah, my
Wow.
brother
When was the last time you were there? Were you back there?
did December, January. The volcano exploded exactly the day I was supposed to leave, and I had to go back home. My flight was canceled because you could see the ashes. That's January. But yeah, my brother keeps on reminding me that hey, it's called a vacation. You gotta relax, because you're heading back to your very stressful job as an analyst, and I'm like, some people want to go to the beach, some people want to get drunk, some people want to go clubbing. To me, I just love to train, so I spend
Yeah. I
Coach
can tell you one
Arnold.
thing: if I'm going over there, it's not to go, it's not to go do anything else but train with people. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so my world revolves around that whenever I go. So hopefully, when the pandemic ends and vaccines come out, I guess based on the timeline they gave us, I guess it's not till Christmas time next year.
Yeah.
We'll try to
Oh,
do
oh
that.
yeah.
Mhm.
Dean, can I inject something? Another thing that we're doing right now is I realize we need to have some tournaments. So we've been actually organizing Dos Manos Duelo tournaments.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Uh, you can Google it on YouTube. It's there. Because we spar a lot. We spar a lot. So I said, come on, let's make it turn
Yeah.
into a competition.
It's an open competition.
We invite anybody, and anybody can join. It's not limited to Kiro guys. Anybody can join. If you're a Kung Fu guy, you want to test your.
Yeah, your
We've had
staff.
guys. We've had Japanese style guys who have joined. Guys who don't know anything, they just want to try it out. I even have a story here. There was a master who said, "Hey, I wish you had a tournament for my age level." I said, "Sure, we can make that. There's a master's division." Then he answers back, "Oh, but I have to teach internationally. I won't be there." The next thing I said was, "When are you coming back? I'll set it up when you come back."
Oh, good. Wow.
He has
And
no.
this is obviously in Manila, or where are you guys doing this?
It's in Manila. After
Okay.
that, he didn't answer. Then
Yeah.
another tournament I'm organizing is first is Duelo long weapon special. So we specialize in long weapons. This is the knife sport. It's a tournament, 1 hour fencing style. The rounds are just 30 seconds. It's to simulate a real knife fight. And we have two versions. One is rage. You can do your sewing machine style, etc. And we just judge you who won. Another one is the finesse. You hit your opponent 5 times or the most number of points in 30 seconds, you win. Because the thing is, again, I realize I'm biased with the techniques on my experiences.
Yeah.
This is a way I see other guys from other clubs, they join. So I see what they do. A good example was one, but I remember the strike we used to train, the flesh. Are you familiar with fencing terms, Dean?
Yeah,
It's
a little bit. A little bit.
it's flesh.
Okay, I've heard that.
So we used to train that, but later on I stopped training it for several reasons. Okay, then when I organized a knife sport, I noticed a lot of guys were getting points. They were winning using that technique. So I realized, oh, I need to train this again. So I guess competition is a good thing, and it's friendly. It's open.
I think you're
I,
doing great. Yeah.
I said, let's stop politics. You know what? I even said one time, let's not mention our clubs anymore. Let's just use our names. Then just our names and join. There was a ninja guy who wanted to join, kung fu guy. So it's open, and the thing is, we don't get hurt. So and we just try
Yeah,
the techniques, right?
sounds great. It sounds great. That's something I would love to do. Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful. I wish
Yeah,
they would.
we did our first run in Europe last year for that too, like in
Oh,
Croatia.
Yeah,
And, we did a test tournament.
in
yeah.
Croatia. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the duelo, it's hard to do in other countries because of legal matters.
yeah, insurance.
Yeah,
Legal.
and it's full
Yeah,
contact. So
I can see that. Right. That's too bad, but I do got a couple more questions. Lucky difference as in effectiveness or efficiency, massage movements. This is back the PTK and KI. Yeah, we're just unfortunately lucky. It just there's no way without kind of getting political. So am I being fair to you guys? Are gonna try to avoid this.
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
did we answer Scott Babs question? I see him.
No,
I
no.
don't know if he had a question or a comment. Let me back up though.
Like
How does? Oh, I'm sorry, he didn't. How does real-world knife violence play out in the urban areas in the Philippines as opposed to what is trained in the more traditional FMA?
Okay. Oh, anyway, I'd like to say first, hi Scott. He's
Yeah.
the founder. He's the founder of Libre.
Yep. I definitely have heard of him. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Glad he's tuning in.
how does the real world knife violence play out in urban? mm, a lot of them are actually ano yung baste? Ambush attacks.
Mm.
It's it's not like I have a knife.
Yeah, not dueling.
You have a knife. No, it doesn't work that way. It's more of blah blah blah. Hey, then stab. Most of they're more of, assassination attempts, or they just want to hurt you. Sometimes they we they from somebody who stabbed somebody. Okay, this is hearsay. They just want to hurt you, so they hold the knife this way, so it doesn't go all the way in.
Interesting.
In Tagalog ba yun? Tikim. Patikim.
yeah.
Ano ba English? A taste.
A taste. Okay.
It's for a sampling. A sampling.
Okay, so sometimes it's just that they just want to hurt the person. It's not really to
They don't
kill
want.
somebody.
Oh, that's the first time I'm ever hearing that. Wow, that's neat. Wow. I mean, not neat. I mean, I don't get the. Maybe that didn't come out the right way, but I just never heard. Wow, interesting. Huh. Wow. And we got another question from Lance. Do you believe that a lot of the FMA drills are impractical and not applicable in pressure testing?
Getting us in trouble.
Lance likes
Lance is Lance is pushing the envelope.
Okay, Baste, it's your turn.
Well,
Yeah, that's right.
no,
You took
yeah.
the knife one, so it's just
Okay. So I'm going to answer this in connection to what I've already mentioned earlier, also in connection to Scott Babb's question, where I've also been asking myself, like, how did some of these traditional techniques come about, training systems? It must have been done to address something, right? I think one thing that people forget is there are probably techniques that some people want to show, and that's for show, and some
Mm,
techniques that people want to keep to themselves. What we see in public were probably what they call the pang-entablado. Entablado means stage, or or Tatang Ilustrisimo, I think, said used to have this term, I think, pandalaga, meaning something that you used to impress, you know,
okay.
girls. Yeah. I think like along the way, probably through the decades, people just forgot to explain the difference, or some person who spent so much time in a system who didn't really get into the inner circle was only taught stuff, not the real stuff. Because even with Tatang Ilustrisimo before, when I was relatively new in Luneta, and I used to ask him, "Hey, I understand you're showing me long blade techniques, and back then I thought it was just stick. I didn't even realize it was. I was relatively new. I didn't know it was a sword method." And but I asked him, like, I heard that you also teach knife
Mm.
round, and said, like, okay, do this. And he only did one thing, and later on he whispered to my ear, like, come visit me at Rada in Tondo, and we'll do a lot more. So when people talk about traditional, we have to also make sure that what we mean by traditional, we have to come into agreement. What do we really mean by traditional? The real traditional probably is real. That's the real traditional. What is the real traditional FMA? Is something that you will not really see. You will just feel it. You're dead. So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, think about that, right? Yeah. I mean, right,
and
an
then even
ambush attack.
Tatang Ilustrisimo didn't want to teach. He was telling,
Mm.
like, why do you want to learn this? Why do you want to learn to kill people? Or why should I teach you something? Because if I teach it to you, you're gonna teach it to your sister. He's gonna teach her her boyfriend, and then eventually it's gonna be taught to someone who might kill me later on too. So
Yeah,
I never taught anyone. So my question is like when people talk about traditional, is it really the traditional way of addressing conflict centuries back as it was supposed to be taught, or was something long the great divide where there's still these like sets of things that some people just misunderstood or eventually were lost in history?
yeah.
That's the way I see it. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good thing. Like I kind of think along your lines. Like they would do demos for festivals or what have you, and I think, oh my God, these people they really liked it. You know what? Let's make this part of the curriculum. Maybe you know what I mean, or like maybe it was that like based on the feedback they got from crowds or whatever.
and
Yeah.
it's true for I would say it's true for a lot of martial arts too, because my brother and I did a lot of karate back then, and every weekend we spent hours learning how to do old school bare knuckle
Yeah,
type of karate where you hit from the neck down to the
yeah,
whole
sure, yeah.
tapping is allowed, all that. But from time to time, they're like, "Oh, we have a demo, and we have to spend the whole evening learning about techniques that we never
That
practice."
you would never use, right? That's what I'm thinking.
No,
Like,
it's
like
like
the
push me
crowd
here.
loves
Okay, I'm
it.
gonna kick you there. I'm gonna throw you here. We
Yeah,
never learn to throw. You
I
just
know.
punch the ribs and break it. Why are you? So I'm thinking probably it's similar to FMA too, where
That's what I'm thinking. Like the crowds love it. The
yeah,
people look over, man, they really like this stuff. Why don't we start teaching? I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just thinking
Some
out loud. I mean,
Yep. So I'm still wondering whether whatever we see also outside is the real
yeah.
art, or people think that whatever they're learning is the real art. Who knows?
Right. I mean, right. I don't know. I think it's a possibility. um, wow, this has been great. I mean, you guys. I mean, you guys touched us on this a little before we get into your media and all that, where people can get a hold of you. I mean, well, currently, are you guys teaching online? That was one question I had here. Um, any online teaching currently you guys doing, or is it more one-on-one?
Online, I've been actually, I have this with a partner. There's a Carlos Hermanos online course. Actually,
Okay.
you can. Then I've done quite a couple of online seminars.
Okay. Just okay, because Chad had because he wanted to know if if they can get a hold of you anywhere. I mean, like if you guys were currently doing anything like that. So,
Uh,
but
Baste, ikaw?
Yeah, in my case, yeah, I'm taking in one-on-one students right now.
okay.
I think I still have a few slots, and yeah, I'm still figuring out how I could come up with group classes, especially with the time
Okay.
difference and all that. And still
Yeah,
learning
what do you
stuff.
do? I would definitely because Chad Bailey, he's the one who asked the question, so it sounds like he had an interest.
Yeah, maybe we'll start with the two of you, and then make it grow for a Dos Manos class. How's that? Yeah. Highlander. There can only be one.
Yeah, let me know. And Chad seemed to express interest. So
Okay, great.
just think here. So all right, let's just for people that like want to get a hold of you. I mean, obviously they via Messenger, of course. You guys obviously have Facebook profiles. Any YouTube channel?
Okay, we have the Carlos Hermanos FMA YouTube channel.
Carlos and
We
my YouTube
Carlos
channel.
Hermanos,
Okay.
but most of our videos are in the Carlos Hermanos Concepts FB page or in the Calis Illustrisimo South of Manila page or Carlos Hermanos Gym page.
Okay.
Baste, and you? What are your pages, Baste?
Yeah, I have the Carlos Illustrisibo Hero, California. I've
Okay,
just
that
moved.
Facebook page. Okay, I've seen it. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Um,
Any website?
no websites yet,
Okay.
but I maintain a lot of groups. I think you're a member of a few, the FMA
Yeah,
history,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, which I think
history. Uh,
fascinating. Some of the stuff you post in there of the swords and stuff, and about like so. Yeah. Instagram, Richard Packman.
Not yet.
Favorite-
Shows our age.
That?
No Instagram.
No Instagram. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I'm not an
Still
Instagram
need
guy.
to look into. But I noticed, of course, that it's a different age group.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, I'm just Facebook. All right, so the groups on here, your YouTube channel, Carlos Hermanos FMA, and then of course some of the FMA page, and of course anybody wants to go, obviously Messenger, obviously works the best, I'm guessing, and all
Yeah,
that.
and just as a caveat, like I've like to say that my brother and I, this is not our full time job, FMA,
Yeah.
but we're doing our part to promote the arts, and also it's part of our I would say like uh, part of our dedication to our late masters as well to promote the art. So just please understand that if we don't reply quickly to your queries, or sometimes I would tell you directly that, yeah, I'm really busy, can you talk to my number two or whatever. That doesn't mean I'm trying to be hard to get or whatever. We're really busy.
That's all. No, understood. Yeah. No,
But yeah, we will try to accommodate your questions if you do shoot us a message on Messenger.
sure. Any I mean, this has been great. I want to thank both of you for coming on twice.
Yeah.
Any closing statements?
Again, Dean, thank you. I enjoyed these interviews. My last statement, maybe, guys, let's train. Me, I'm not so much of a researcher of history, and for me, the best way to give respect or to love our masters, like let's say Tatang Mangtoni, is to move. Enough of talking, enough of showing certificates, enough of showing pictures. Let's just move, man. Let's train. Let's train.
Agreed. How about you, Baste?
Yeah, before that, I'd like to take the opportunity just to say hello to all our Kiro brothers and sisters globally, and also all our friends from PTK and the Campo and Lameco, and of course Carlos Hermanos. Say hello to everyone, and thanks for following the two episodes. And yeah, his parting words is, there's a lot of FMAs. Try to keep on finding what works for you in terms of that addresses what you're looking for.
Yeah. Right. I mean, what
At
makes
the
you
same
happy?
time, don't be a collector of instructors.
Yeah, or techniques, or
Yes.
Yeah, do spend the time to appreciate. Do spend a significant time at least to appreciate enough time to appreciate. What makes the art distinct, or even understand if the art works or not for you. But just don't keep on jumping left and right. Otherwise, you'll be a chop suey kind of martial artist.
Yeah, at the end of it, right? You won't. I mean, you won't have really anything. Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah. Agreed on that. Wow. Interview X. Congratulations, brothers. Great interview. Nice show, Dean. Thank you, Maestro Arnold. Very nice of you. Interview Dax. Who's Dax? Lance, you got to give me a preview.
He's my dentist.
He's the
Oh, okay.
funniest dentist you'll ever meet.
No,
Okay.
he's one of our students. He's one of our students.
Oh, okay. I figured as much, but okay. Wow. Alrighty. But all right. Well, again, this has been absolutely wonderful. So same kind of form, same kind of deal. I'm gonna download it. I'll obviously, tag, put it both on your walls, the YouTube version and all that. Same thing. And your guys' first one's taken off. I mean, a lot of likes already and views. So I'm guessing the same for this one. So obviously people are digging what you guys have to say. So, but yeah, I appreciate you both coming on. And if I don't get to see or talk to you guys, by all means, I hope you guys have a great holiday.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, man. Stay safe.
Yes, you too as well. All right, guys.
Thanks, Dean. Have a great evening.
You too.
Bye.
those are two good ones. So Sunday, just because the holiday is coming up, and there'll be a couple days where obviously I'm not going to be able to do interviews with what's going on. So Sunday, Master Dan Medina is coming on this Sunday night, and after that, I gotta try to think. I know we got Graciela coming on, and somebody else, and before you know it, we'll be into January. But if thanks you all who tuned in, checked out, commented. If you haven't already, hit like, and don't forget if you want to see more of these great interviews or the part one to this, go in FMA discussion on YouTube, and they're all there. And you can see a whole bunch of great interviews. Master Arnold ones on there, a bunch of other great ones. All right, y'all. If I don't get to see or talk to you, have a great holiday, which is in 2 weeks. All right, guys. Take care.